where horror lies.
Rob from Georgia here with you, aka VHS82 apostrophe. I'm your regular Wednesday evening host here at BodyBags. It is the final week of the month. It is theme week. It is my theme week. He said, she said, and the basic idea is go way down deep into the archive, find a review, watch it endlessly like 1,000,001 times, and then, you know, comment, not so much on the film, but yeah, on the film, but also the reviewer, previous old school, old time reviewers for BodyBags. And so this week really is about just opening up the archives and reminding you that there is 8 years like worth of stuff. I mean, just so many reviews, so many, and I do have a Letterboxd listing of every single film ever reviewed in BodyBags over the entirety of the whole 8-year run, going all the way back to the days of Moodz and JP and Jeremy and the rest, man. So anyway, so you know, I wasn't sure what to look at for this one, but I settled on Andrew Shroyer's review of The Thing from 2011, and there's a reason why I've got my color off there, and I'll explain that in a minute. But back in let's see, when did he do this? Week 209. And his link to his review will be down there below. But it was part of Continents Week. And it was September 3rd, 17, when his review dropped for the first time via BodyBags. And, you know, and I thought, well, my first thing wasn't necessarily, I want to talk about The Thing from 11, but I thought I'd watch his review real quick. When he says something right at the beginning that I said, yep, this is it. He made a point, and I agree with him wholeheartedly. And if you don't agree, take it up with me, not him, because these guys probably don't even check comments going that far back. But he made a point to say that he believes, as well as I do, that John Carpenter's film from '82 stands alone as its own unique film. It is not a remake. I do not consider it a remake of any sort at all. It is a re-look at the original source material by Campbell, who goes there. And, you know, aside from title font, and a few minor, maybe coincidental things, this was not a remake of the, his wasn't a remake of the 51 Howard Hawks classic directed by Christian Nyby. This is not a remake of that by any stretch. The Thing from '82. Now, and I had thought right there, well, we agree. I'm in. So, you know, listening to the rest of his review, we also agree on some of the major issues, and I'm going to just throw a couple extras with the unfortunate aspect of this. But Shroyer, in his review, first of all, love this movie. Had from the first start, and I'm still riding the old DVD. But if you saw it in the theater multiple times. And I have to say, probably the first 10 to 12 minutes and the last 10 to 12 minutes, bookends, were just beautiful for me. But he, you know, he points out in his review that the biggest stumbling block to this movie is the seemingly lack of practicals in favor of CG. And some of the CG is absolutely horrific. It is unreal how bad it is. But it's not for the lack of trying on the filmmaker's part. And dare I even try to say his name, Matthijs van Henningen Jr. This is a Norwegian / US production, right? And it started with so much promise. It was meant to be a forensical look, a prequel of sorts, of John's film in '82, wanting to take us to the Norwegian camp and show us exactly how it is that we get to John's movie from more of a forensical sort of, you know, CSI look kind of thing, right? But the studio, as Shroyer says, you know, they didn't have the time to, even though everything had already been laid out. They had the special effects team, animatronics, they had everything going. The makeup effects crew, and hard at work already building things. And the studio just sort of came in and said, we don't got time for that. CG that mess, CG over everything. And ultimately what you get is some scenes like in the chopper scene, the chopper when the guy's just like, I mean, absolutely horrible. This does not stand anywhere near John's movie in terms of the effects and how the effects were laid out by Rob Bottin. 19-year-old punk who brought his freaking A game, right? Now, there are some issues here that Shroyer doesn't really get into, one of them being the language. Now, I love the fact that we have some subtitles. I love that we got some great Norwegian actors. I don't think they went far enough. And I get it, compromise. You got to throw a couple, American actors, or at least Mary Elizabeth, the heck was her? Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Why can't I? Plays Kate, of course. You put her as the lead sort of American protagonist of sorts, who is trying to just keep everyone's minds, on how they needed to deal with this situation as it quickly escalates, right? Once the creature breaks out of the ice cocoon of sorts, right? Its frozen cell, and starts to run havoc on the Norwegian camp. Mary Elizabeth, Kate, of course, and of course you got Joel Edgerton. I can't say names today. Plays Carter, who those two really do work pretty well together. The Norwegian cast is freaking phenomenal. I love that concept. It's just not carried far enough for me. The subtitles aren't carried enough. The idea of creating tension around the inability to communicate with one another was so underutilized in this movie. And then of course the CG, so much promise in this movie. And if there's another minor criticism, I really do wish they would have tapped more into Campbell's original novella, Who Goes There, in terms of just some of the characters, in terms of just who they are in the book. I know you got a Norwegian cast and we're dealing with that, and that's fine, but it would have been really cool if they could have just drawn on some interesting elements from that novella, because really that novella hasn't been touched very much. I mean, you got the 51, you got the 82, you got the 11, and really there is still so much to tap into in that short novella. And of course now we got the re-release of the extra material in that novel, Frozen Hell, I think it is. There's this much, but Shroyer really loved this movie, and really makes the argument that much of the movie is the same, really. I mean, and that is a lack of really anyone having their complete way. The studio doesn't get their complete way. The director and his staff don't get their whole way. It is a compromise, and sometimes out of compromises comes really what could be a complete and absolute mess. But I'm going to just be honest here. I rewatched this thing the other day, and I'm going to get to the black and white here in a second. And I'm going to tell you, I probably enjoyed this movie more than I have ever enjoyed it in a viewing. I think I have finally just reconciled with all the major flaws, the studio and the interference. In fact, the director, he had such a horrific... Now, you'd never know, listen to the commentary, because him and the producer, I think it's the producer, they don't say anything really bad at all. You would never know the horrific time he had with Universal on this. In fact, it was so bad that when this was finally done, he just left filmmaking. He didn't even want to make another film again. Now, I think he slowly crept back in, but from his home country. And then, you hear this all the time, how the studio just interferes. And this was one of those. Now, I don't know, do we really need a completely subtitled film, a completely Norwegian? I'd have loved it, but I get it. There's some element of mass marketing here, some element of it. But it could have been so much freaking better than what it ultimately is. But Shroyer, and I can see why. I can see why he really enjoys this movie, and he's not about to allow much of its major flaws, or minor, however you see it, get in the way. So, anyways, the black and white. I think, and Glenn, our Monday reviewer on BodyBags, and others agree that one way you can deal with the CG is to watch the film in black and white. Turn your color off. Go with the warm, the cool, or the normal temp. Mess with the contrast a little bit, maybe. Just get the color off. Now, the chopper scene still looks freaking messed up, but it's not quite as egregious in black and white. as it is in color. In color, it is horrible. But there are so many other moments in this movie that when you watch it in black and white, it really does come across so much better. And so I challenge you, if you're sort of like me, where you only watch a movie once in a great while or hardly ever, just because, try watching it in black and white. Take the color out, mess with the contrast, mess with the temp, just, and turn all the lights off. And I'm not saying it's gonna go from possibly the worst movie in your mind to the greatest movie in your mind, but it helps to alleviate the black and white, neutralize, maybe that's a better way to put it, neutralize some of the issues. In fact, I just watched Lucio Fulci's House by the Cemetery. I just happened, because I was rewatching this in black and white, I just left the black and white on, and I just watched House by the Cemetery in black and white, and I'm going to tell you, that movie is freaking phenomenal in black and white. In fact, that may be my next Italy's Holocaust go-to in a couple weeks. May take a hardcore look at that. But anyways, so here this week, we really are, and I agree with Andrew a lot, man. I'm sure if me and him sat down and have a conversation about this film, we would really see almost eye to eye in just about everything. He does make the mention that Mary Elizabeth Winstead is, he uses the term, I think, eye candy. She is pretty. I just, I don't know. Just kind of, he really does like the movie, and that's fine, because I mean, there are key moments that are really, really fun, and they do help. Really do. I don't know if we needed it or not, but they do explain how certain things end up being when we approach them via Carpenter's film. Which, again, I agree with him. I agree with Andrew. That is a standalone. That is an original film. That is not a remake of the 51 classic, because if it was a remake of the 51 classic, the Thing, we would not have the Thing the way we have the Thing. It would be a totally different movie. I'm just saying. So anyways, here in week 483, I don't even think I mentioned that, it is theme week. It is He Said, She Said all week long. We're going to be talking about other reviewers, past reviewers, going way down deep into the archive, and talking about some of the things they reviewed, and what we think, but really it is a reminder to you that there is 8 years worth of this stuff, and if you're ever curious about a review on a certain movie, sometimes there's multiple reviews of that movie, at least the older ones. We try our best never to copy each other, current reviewers, but you may have movies in the past in BodyBags that have been reviewed 4 or 5 times. And so that is interesting to get a different take from different people. So that's there too. Anyways, I'm going to cut out here because I can just feel it's all starting to come down now. The Thing from 11, give it another shot, watch it in black and white, see what you think. Yeah, the CG is horrific, but this is not the film, and there apparently is, an opportunity to have a director's cut, say, extended, restored. I know there's been some fan push on that. I don't know where it's at now. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but boy, wouldn't that be fantastic to see. Anyhow, so we'll leave it there. Enjoy the rest of your week, as you're probably working, getting through the work week, looking forward to another weekend. And as we jump into February, new month of reviews and whatnot. Thank you for your support. Thank you for all that you bring. And let's just get out of here because my head's going to explode. As always, go Bills.